Can Matt Murdock take Captain in a fight? Who's the strongest Hulk? Who's the fastest Speedster? Marvel is full of people with similar powers, but who's the best at using them? We're taking the best hands in Marvel and seeing who can throw down the hardest. From mutants to gods to super soldiers and everything in between. They might have the same abilities, but only one will be left standing. Let's find out who it is. Weather gods. So, before we get into the matchups, let's talk about ranking systems. For this video, I'm going with a 3-point ranking system. Raw output, who's got the highest baseline power, skill and mastery, who can use that power the best, battle IQ, who adapts the best in a fight. We're only using live action appearances for this video. The comics are a whole other can of worms. Let's start. When it comes to controlling the weather, you immediately think of the God of Thunder, Mighty Thor, and Storm, one of the X-Men's heaviest hitters. But this actually isn't all that close. Let's start with number 3, Storm, who comes up a bit short in all these areas. She's got an extremely versatile kit. She can manipulate the atmosphere into doing whatever she wants. Localized tornadoes, flash freezing targets, and creating massive wind currents. But in terms of durability, she's just a human, making her a total glass cannon. She's definitely got the skill and mastery, but in terms of raw output, all she has is lightning, which is not entirely useless against Jane and Thor, but I'm pretty sure it would amp them up even further. One clean hit from Mjolnir or Stormbreaker could demolish her, and no freak natural disaster could save her. Coming in at number 2 is Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor. A lot of people underestimate Jane because she hasn't wielded Mjolnir for too long, but her battle IQ is actually off the charts. Within months of getting her powers, she used them to fight alongside Thor flawlessly. Even if you compare her showings with Thor's from the previous films, Jane stacks up pretty well. She also has great control over Mjolnir. That's how she trapped the Necro Sword, by using its shattered pieces to encase the actual sword. Besides her IQ and skill, she's got great raw output. Gorr can go toe-to-toe with Thor, but Jane clashes with him several times and knocks him back. She can shoot out the same exact massive bolts of lightning we've seen Thor use. But here is why she is definitely number 2, experience and stamina. She doesn't have Thor's centuries of experience as the God of Thunder. And every time she uses Mjolnir, it greatly weakens her body, making her stage 4 cancer even worse than before she picks up the hammer. In an endurance battle, she'd lose 10 out of 10 times, even if she can go blow for blow. Which is why you have Thor at number 1. This guy's fought the Hulk, Iron Man, Thanos, Dark Elves, Surtur, and everything else he can get his hands on. He has one of the most stacked resumes in the entire MCU. In terms of skill and mastery, there's really no one better. He's been trained as an Asgardian warrior since he was a child, and his output is seriously insane. He was even able to shred a blast from the Power Stone. And that's not all. One of the most casual but impressive feats was when he destroyed all of Sokovia. Granted, Iron Man helped out too, but let's be real, most of the impact came from Thor. And in terms of durability, well, he withstood the energy of a dying star. After Ragnarok, he truly mastered his abilities.
That hammer was to help you control your power, to focus it. It's never your source of strength.
Also, and now, he doesn't even need a weapon to call forth massive lightning. He can do everything Jane can do better and without any of the handicaps. Speedsters. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. Coming in at number 4 is Speed, Tommy Maximoff. Look, he's a literal child. In WandaVision, we see him disarm a few sword agents, which is a fun nod to his uncle, but that is the absolute ceiling of his abilities right now. His raw output is decent for a kid, but his skill and mastery and battle IQ are non-existent. He just runs fast and pushes people. In a real fight, he's sitting on the bench. At number 3, we have the MCU's Quicksilver.
You didn't see that coming?
Now, he's definitely stupidly fast. I think he's well over the speed of sound, since he can easily outspeed bullets. So he's got the raw output, but his human biology holds him back. What do I mean? Let's take a look at his actual powers, not just super speed.
Their abilities?
He's got increased metabolism and improved thermal homeostasis.
What does increased metabolism and improved thermal homeostasis actually mean? And increased metabolism is exactly that, increased cellular activity. His hyper-accelerated metabolism requires massive amounts of oxygen to keep his cells from burning out. When Ultron lifted Sokovia into the thinning atmosphere, Pietro was probably slowing down while running due to the air being thinner, meaning there was less oxygen for his cells. That puts a hard cap on his stamina too. His body's fast, but his brain's a bit slow. He's not exactly the golden standard of battle IQ. But even in his fight scenes, he goes for simple punches rather than taking advantage of his super speed. Couldn't he think of anything better than punching a super soldier in the face? I mean, really? His stamina, combined with his IQ, puts him at number 3, and even at his top speeds, he's a bit slower than our number 2, the Fox Quicksilver. If there were purely a foot race, Peter takes the gold, no question. His perception of time is so broken that explosions are practically frozen to him. He can casually rearrange a room, eat a snack, and move bullets with his fingertips before anyone even blinks. But here's the catch. Peter is a civilian with god-tier speed. He's arrogant, lacks formal combat training, and possesses standard human durability. He's the ultimate glass cannon. The second a heavy hitter like Apocalypse actually manages to catch him, his leg snaps, and he's out of the fight. I think he's the fastest on this list, but that doesn't mean he's the best fighter. That title goes to Makkari, our number 1 spot. Her raw perception of time is a step below Fox Quicksilver's, but Makkari has everything you want in a speedster. Her base stats are way higher than anyone else, since she's an Eternal. She survived that stab, by the way. A near invulnerable body, incredible stamina, millennia of combat experience. I could go on, but you get the point. Everyone here is a speedster, but Makkari's the only warrior. Plus, she can generate massive kinetic shockwaves and sonic booms to absolutely batter her opponents. It's not really a contest anymore. Telepaths. So, this one's actually really complicated. We've seen 3 major telepaths so far: Emma Frost, Charles Xavier, and Jean Grey. In terms of raw output, Emma's easily the lowest one on this list. She can do a lot, don't get me wrong. Mental blasts, convincing illusions, and use her telepathy over really long distances. But it gets complicated because of her diamond form. In that state, she gets super strength and durability. For example, bullets don't do a thing to her. And sending a grown man flying is a simple task for her. But the biggest catch is that she becomes immune to telepathy of all kinds. Even someone like Charles fails.
You're never going to get anything from me while I'm like this.
The only reason he was able to overpower her was that he had Magneto with him to subdue her and turn Emma back into her human form. So this is where it gets hard. In terms of raw output and skill mastery, she's below Charles. She might have more battle IQ since she's constantly in combat situations. But the thing is, telepathy doesn't really matter here. I know that's weird since this is about telepaths, but bringing her diamond form into it, all that's left is for Charles to overpower her, and he can't do that on his own. Someone like Jean Grey easily could, but she's extremely busted even without the Phoenix Force. The only options Charles would have are to use his powers on her before she transforms, or to manipulate dozens of people around her to overwhelm her. And she can go diamond almost instantaneously, so it would have to be extremely fast. However, assuming neither of those happens, nothing is stopping Emma from knocking Charles out with a right hook. Battle IQ is the only one I can comfortably give to Emma though, which is why she's number 3 for now, although it's really close. Moving on to Charles Xavier. This guy is famously known as the most powerful telepath on Earth, which is what makes him an Omega level mutant. If you don't know what that means, basically, these are mutants with no real upper limit to their powers. We're talking about a guy who can casually freeze the minds and bodies of dozens of people in a crowded museum so he can have a private chat. When he hooks up to Cerebro, his mind expands to observe and trace every single living soul on the planet.
These lights represent every living person on the planet.
That's billions of people at once, by the way. He doesn't even need his physical body to fight. He can pull an ancient, god-tier mutant into the astral plane and throw down purely with his mind, even if he kind of lost it in the end. And if you want to talk about raw, terrifying output, look at Logan. Even in his 90s, suffering from a neurodegenerative disease, his involuntary psychic seizures create massive shockwaves that paralyze hundreds of people in sheer agony. This guy's mind is a bomb. But even with all that, he's just no Jean Grey. Despite winning in terms of battle IQ and mastery, sometimes sheer raw output just makes all the difference. It's why we have weight classes in boxing. And Jean? She's the heavyweight champ, which is why she's number 1. And the first person to acknowledge her power is Charles himself. Why else do you think he built mental blocks into Jean's head? He's terrified of the scale of her power and potential, and he has every reason to be. And she's able to tear down those walls almost effortlessly. In fact, she atomizes Xavier just as easily too. There's no better proof of who would win than, well, the movies showing her winning. But let's go a bit deeper into what makes Jean so powerful. Jean's an Omega level mutant with really impressive feats. In X2, she held back a ruptured dam, so millions of gallons of rushing water with one hand, while lifting the massive X-Jet with the other, while stopping Professor X from entering her mind. That is an insane level of control and power. Plus, she did the heavy lifting when it came to killing Apocalypse, which, by the way, was metal as hell. She literally incinerated the man into nothing. And if you take the Phoenix Force into account, then forget mutants. There's barely anyone in the MCU that can stand up to her. Gamma Giants. This one's actually the most straightforward ranking on this whole list. We got 3 contenders here: the Abomination, Red Hulk, and the Hulk. It's a bit hard to rank any of these guys on battle IQ, since in most of their showings, they're rampaging monsters. Although the Hulk can still work in a team, and Blonsky later learns to control his transformation in She-Hulk. I have to place Emil Blonsky at number 3 here. On paper, he's got a lot going for him. Repeated super soldier serum doses, a much stronger base body than either Ross or Banner, and an incredibly destructive transformation. But his power doesn't seem to rise the angrier he gets. Plus, he lost to a much weaker version of the Hulk than what we see in the Infinity Saga. When he does transform, he seems to also lose his cool entirely. So, on all 3 factors, output, mastery, and IQ, I'm placing him 3rd. The second has to be Thaddeus Ross, aka the Red Hulk. He's got some really impressive showings. Namely, he was able to crush vibranium tech with his bare hands, and he really gave Sam a run for his money. He also had really good mobility. I mean, the dude was jumping around entire acres of land in no time. And he has the brute strength to go toe-to-toe with anyone on this list. And I don't just mean Emil and Bruce. Plus, he has a really unique ability, heat generation. This is a much bigger thing in the comics, but if you notice, during his transformation scene, his clothes actually burn off. That's because this Hulk gets hotter the longer he fights, and technically it has no real upper limit. It's a lot like how the Hulk gets stronger the angrier he gets. In terms of raw output, battle IQ, and mastery, I put him just below the Hulk, but that's because he's had a lot less time with his abilities. Meanwhile, at number 1, we have Bruce Banner. Whether it's fighting the god of thunder, punching the god of fire right in the face, or going up against the Mad Titan, the Hulk has one, if not the most impressive fight records in the entire MCU. This guy never backs down from a fight, and he's constantly proven that the Hulk truly does smash. In terms of raw output, I think he's the highest on this entire list outside of maybe Thor. And in terms of skill, he's a lot more efficient now that Bruce has managed to control the transformation. I think he did lose some power as a result of being Smart Hulk, since the rage boost isn't really there anymore, but he more than makes up for it with a far superior battle IQ, something the other 2 just don't have. Also, why haven't I included She-Hulk in this? Well, she definitely is a Hulk, and she's also super strong, but I think her transformation is a lot different from these 3. She had full control over her personality and mind, and never really had a monstrous transformation that made her a walking calamity. Plus, she's not really that much of a fighter, even though she can definitely throw hands. It's not a big part of her character. Brawlers. Saved this one for last, and for good reason. Here we have a 4-way beatdown between Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Daredevil, and US Agent, the best brawlers of the MCU. I'd include Iron Fist here too, but his live-action version's a bit of a disappointment. First, let's discuss the matchup. I put all these guys together because they're pure brawlers. They rely on hand-to-hand, along with a weapon of choice. Guys like the Punisher use an entire arsenal, but all of these dudes are fist fighters at their core. Let's start. So at number 3, I have US Agent, and I know what you guys are going to say. He's already a near-perfect athlete, and he has the serum on top of that? Plus the shield? Plus being a war veteran? I get it, I really do. But listen, hear me out. In terms of raw output, any super soldier on this list is superior to Daredevil. But in terms of skill and battle IQ, Daredevil is hands down a better fighter than Walker. What he lacks in stats, I really believe he makes up for it with skill. Walker isn't the most composed person in a battle, especially when things don't go his way. He's a lot more stable in thunderbolts, but we've seen him lose his cool many times. On the other hand, Matt keeps his cool even in the worst of situations. But the reason I really give it to Matt is his radar sense. Being able to predict someone's movements based on their heartbeat is a massive advantage. And even if Walker has superior strength, it doesn't matter if you can't get a good blow in. Besides that, Matt has a very deep understanding of where to hit you for maximum damage, something he uses to both heal hospital-level injuries and deliver destructive damage. But I need you guys to understand, it's stupidly close. Even their environment could make a big difference. Next, and this might be the most controversial take yet, but I have Bucky and Daredevil tied. I know Bucky's a lot stronger thanks to the serum, and he's got extreme training, which makes him a really capable fighter. And then there's the vibranium arm. All things that make his raw output way higher than what Matt can do on his best days. But we've seen how Bucky performs when he's fighting someone with something like the radar sense. He wasn't able to really land a solid blow on Spider-Man, but assuming he does land a clean shot, I think it's over for Matt. As good a fighter as he is, if fighting grunts and people like Kingpin make him hurt, then Bucky would probably knock him out, even with his legendary pain tolerance. Matt also hasn't done too well against superpowered people before, like Nobu. But that was Season 1 Matt, and by the time of Born Again, he's a totally different beast. But here's where Matt's fight IQ and the environment really matter. In an open field, in broad daylight, I could see Bucky taking it, no question. But in a closed office space, like a building or a hallway, I really think Matt has a real chance. His senses work better the more surfaces there are for sound to bounce off of, and he's an absolute pro at using his environment. Plus, his batons can work as the perfect weapons to restrain Bucky's vibranium arm. In terms of hand-to-hand, I think Matt has a slight edge, purely based on the fact that he fights dozens of people every single day and night. His skills are always in top shape. The reason I have them tied? In raw output, it's Bucky. In skill and mastery, it's a small edge for Matt. And in battle IQ, I have them both dead even. But both of them lose to Captain America. And it's not even close. In terms of raw output, he might be very close to Bucky, but his skill and battle IQ are above all three of these guys. Steve's gone against Bucky and held his own. He's been in situations that Matt would struggle in. And he can work that shield much better than Walker can. There's a reason Steve's been able to fight people like Thanos, Iron Man, and so many more. Well, actually there's two. Beyond his enhancements, experience, and intelligence, it's his unbreakable will and grasp of battlefield geometry. He calculates ricochets on the fly, making his shield strikes impossible to dodge, and he has the stamina to literally do this all day. He went toe-to-toe with Iron Man in a brutal fistfight, and physically dismantled a billion-dollar suit of armor with nothing but his shield and bare hands. He has the stats to tank the heavy hits, and the elite martial arts mastery to counter anyone on this list. Cap takes the crown. This was a really hard list to make, and I'm still not 100% sure about all these rankings, especially tying Daredevil and Bucky. But this is where you guys come in and tell me who you would rank as the top fighter among all of these guys. And if you liked this video, show it some love so we can get part 2 ready for you.